Love tying in guests to the opponent, Carolina, Toronto, and a guy who played for both teams. Tim Brent now joins us. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Brenty, good to see you, buddy.
Rosie, what's up, bud?
Been a while, man. What's going on in your life these days? How are things?
Oh, man, things are great. Two kids now. My daughter turns 8 this weekend, which is wild.
You just had her.
And then, 5-year-old little boy who's finally getting into hockey now. So we got lots going on. It's fun.
You coaching those kids?
Yeah, he's out there doing some learn to skate mostly right now. So we go out on the weekends a little bit, and I try and help him out a little, but leave that for somebody else right now.
What are the chances that your kid's going to be a mucker and grinder out there?
That's probably all he has a hope for. But no, I think he's probably built for baseball. So we'll see. Going to push him towards baseball and golf probably.
Oh, I like it. Hey, Timmy, you have the experience of playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, which this show is centered on, and also Carolina's where you've kind of set up your life down there and called it home. What do you remember about being a Toronto Maple Leaf and maybe some of the differences from the other organizations you've played on being part of the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody probably talks about, and I still believe Toronto is the mecca of hockey. And it's always going to be that. It's very evident when you're playing there. There's generally more media in the room than players. There's, a higher level of scrutiny than probably anywhere else that you're going to play. But in saying that, there's also so many upsides to it. I mean, there were so many people who were invested in what you're doing in your career, and it became quite evident pretty early in my time there that it didn't matter if you were Phil Kessel or Dion Phaneuf or Tim Brent. People cared about what you were doing. And so I'm so thankful for my time in Toronto. I had so much fun. It was truly one of the best years playing hockey for me.
Well, I was going to ask you, as a Cambridge kid, what did that mean to you to don the blue and white?
Yeah. Do you guys remember, I was thinking about this. Do you guys remember that there was all this talk about this blue and white disease back when we were playing, and how we needed to bring in more Americans and not have so many guys around that were, I mean, in my opinion, that's such a crock of shit. I mean, I felt like I needed to play an extra bit harder every night because I had parents in the stands. I had family, I had friends, I had, and it didn't matter if you were at home or on the road, everybody was watching. And I felt like, those days where you were, 82 game season is a grind, and you're going to have nights that you don't feel good. And it just gave you a little bit more, being, a quote unquote hometown or homegrown kid. The best I could liken it to is being from Boston or New York and playing for the Yankees or the Red Sox. That's what it's like. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it was a highlight of my career. I mean, I loved every night playing with the Leafs jersey on.
And we talk about it to their detriment. It seems like when players come into town in the opposition and they're a local product and they have, shelled out tickets for a bunch of friends and family and former coaches and what, they seem to take it up an extra notch because there's so many quality players that come from the area. I think more than anything, it's the opposition that comes in fired up, like you're talking about, knowing everyone's watching and giving their absolute best. Like you say, no one's taking a night off against the Leafs in Toronto when they're from the area. And I think it hurts them, you get the best of the best every night when teams come to town.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I think we all saw it playing. Whether it's Connor McDavid now, he comes into town and it's just not that he needs anything more, but good Lord, when he's in Toronto, he just seems to be an extra half, step faster than everybody else. Anyway, I agree.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Any guy who's from the area, close to the area, always has a big game at Scotiabank Arena. It doesn't help the Maple Leafs, that's for sure. Now, Tim, back in November, Steven Lorentz referenced you following a shot blocking parade against Vegas where he blocked 3 shots in the same spot, including 2 on the same shift. Did you catch wind of that? And how flattering was that comment?
Yeah, I mean, my phone blew up when that happened, which was hilarious. But what it was flattering, and the first thing I thought about was, gosh, this kid must have been a serious Leaf fan to remember me, but I mean, I love it. I love it for him. He will realize quickly and now that the Leaf fans will love him for that. And they'll probably never forget it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times still today, if I'm back home, somebody brings it up, the Carolina game. And it's just one of those things that I feel like Toronto's fans do such a great job of appreciating third and fourth line players and what they bring. And you just don't get that in a lot of other cities that you play in. So I hope he gets a lot of recognition for it, and I hope the fans love him for it.
I always think that's crazy. I don't know. I'm a bit of a puss. Like, I don't like blocking shots. I don't think I've ever blocked a shot that didn't hit me where there's no equipment. And I would honestly rather get in 2 fights in a game. I'm willing to do that, but blocking shots, no thanks. I think you guys are kind of crazy for doing that stuff. I don't know what the deal is, but you were very good at it. And you seem to have a knack for doing things against Carolina. I remember that one game in Carolina. I should have the name and the date and everything, but it was pretty big game. It was late in the game, and you came flying down the left side. Goalie's way out, and you half clap faked it, went around and buried. It was this massive goal, and I remember it was probably the same year you had those shock blocks, and then lo and behold, you signed with Carolina. You kind of made an impression and went down there. What was your experience like playing for the Hurricane?
Yeah, I think those 2 games probably got me a deal in Carolina. It's funny, but obviously a big difference in coming from Toronto to Raleigh. Much more laid back here in Carolina as far as media goes and attention. And now, granted, we didn't have the teams then that the Canes have now. And there's a lot more, I think, hype about them the last few years with how successful they've been. But, I tell this, I think the difference is, in a nutshell, is, you're out for dinner in Toronto, and, a fan quite literally will often pull a chair up to your table at dinner and be like, "What's wrong with the power play?" Where Carolina, they might walk by and pat you on the shoulder and say, "Good luck this weekend." And that was kind of the difference. I obviously loved my time in Carolina. I call Raleigh home now. I met my wife here. I'll be perfectly honest. I was heartbroken's probably too hard of an expression, but I was pretty bummed when I didn't re-sign in Toronto. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to stay there. I felt like the team was kind of headed in the right direction. But God had other plans for me, and I ended up in Carolina, and obviously, there was a lot of wonderful things, including, my wife and falling in love with North Carolina that came out of that. So,
yeah. July 1st, 2011 is what you're referencing, but did it not feel like you were in Toronto? Cabriolet, Ponikarovsky, Talusti, Paul Maurice, like it was insanity.
Yeah. A lot of familiar faces. It was great. Certainly always helps when you have some familiar faces in the room you're going into. And, I'd known Eric Stahl for years prior to that, which, they're retiring Stahly's number this Sunday, which I'm excited to be a part of that. It'll be fun. So congratulations to him on that. But, Yeah, it was to your point. Like, you know, I felt like Cabo left us, went to Boston, won a cup, and then I saw him in September. You know, he was probably still a little drunk, but yeah, we had quite a few Leafs guys. It seemed like there was a pipeline south from Toronto for a while there.
Hey, Timmy, we've been talking about the World Junior here lately, and the lack of production from Team Canada and the disaster that they are and what those reasons are. But did you pay attention to the World Juniors? Obviously, you played for Canada in the World Juniors. What was your take on this season and this rendition of the World Junior tournament? And what do you think's going on with Team Canada?
Yeah, you know, great question. First of all, I played for Dave Cameron for 4 years at St. Mike's in Toronto, and love the guy. I mean, he was an absolute hard ass in junior when I played for him. But I think has, you know, probably softened some over time, and it's a little different group of kids these days. But and those tournaments are always so hard to, you know, I remember seeing an interview and somebody asked him about sitting guys that weren't performing. And it's just the tournament's too short to be able to do things like that. Yeah. So, and he's a great motivator, great X's and O's guy. So I you know, I think from a coaching perspective, it's you know, he's a great choice. But man, it's just, I think the other countries are just catching up. I mean, you know, it's easy for us to always say, hey, Canada's the best. And historically we have been. I think with how much other countries are investing in their players and their junior programs, eventually, you know, the parity kind of comes to fruition. So it's there, you know, 1-game knockouts. Does that happen if it's a 7-game series? We can go down those roads for, you know, till we're blue in the face. It's always going to be like that. You know, you can say I won a silver medal, I lost a gold medal, and you know, it drives me crazy. I lost a lot of sleep after not winning in Finland. I've finally let it go, but
you know,
it's hard, and it's, again, to kind of, you know, put it back on the kids have a lot of pressure who play World Juniors for Canada. There's nobody, I mean, outside of Canada, I shouldn't say nobody, you know, the Swedes, the Finns, they all follow it pretty strongly. The US to probably a lesser extent, but still follow it. But there's a lot of pressure. We'd get stacks of emails at breakfast every morning, and it'd be random people sending you an email from Nova Scotia and BC, and, you know, just, hey, we're cheering you on. And that, you know, as great as that is, it's also a level of expectation that you try and meet. And man, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's plus a lot of the best Canadian junior age kids are playing the NHL now, and they're not letting them go play. So it you know, a lot of that has to do with where things are, but, you know, still pulling for the red and white.
Yeah, and I think that's a big topic for me, at least, is no Celebrini, no Bedard. You add those two to that Canadian roster, they run away with that tournament. Not to rehash old wounds, I'm mutual friends with Anthony Stewart, who was on the team with you in 2004. He did mention to bring up the Oriole line, but we'll leave that conversation for another day. As you smile, he sent me a picture with you, Derek Jocelyn, and Stewie on the line in Carolina. But 2004, I'm sure people ask you a lot about the 2011 game, but how often are you asked about the Marc-Andre Fleury goal? I brought it up earlier on. I actually had a chance to work in broadcasting a couple of years ago with Patrick O'Sullivan, but I think it's so interesting for how bad of luck Fleury got on that play. His NHL career, a much different story. He's retiring this year too, right?
Yeah, what a gosh, you know, the funny part about that game is I got knocked out. Mark Stewart, remember Mark Stewart from Boston Bruins? Mm-hmm. He came down the wall, hit me with an elbow, and knocked me out cold in the second period. And that was back when you got your bell rung. There were no
Get back out there.
there were no concussions. But I don't remember the third period. That's terrible to say, but that's the truth.
Jeez.
And so I don't remember the feeling of that goal going in or anything. I actually found the old VHS tape of the game not long ago, and now I got to find a VHS player to watch it again. But it's just one of those things where it was a bad thing that happened to an awesome guy, and you just hated it more for Flower than probably yourself, just because he felt obviously terrible. And anyway, it's one of those things. It was a hard fought game. Bounce goes the wrong way, we lose.
At the end of the day, I don't think he feels as bad about it as letting me score my first goal on him.
That's true. Rosie did score his first NHL tuck.
I love it.
5.5 goals in the NHL,
Mark,
the first on Fleury.
It could get worse. Timmy, I just wanted to ask you, I was looking at your DB, and you spent a good chunk of time in the KHL and playing in Russia and won a championship there. What was that like looking back? You got some wild Russia stories? You sucking on that Russian gas, or what do you remember from your time over there? I know that era was kind of the Wild West.
It was, man. It was. So I went over there, signed in Nizhny Novgorod, which is like one of the fourth. I think it's like the fourth largest city in Russia, and I remember getting over there and thinking, "Gosh, this place looks like a shithole," just like. But it was like one of the nicer places to play, and then I got traded pretty quick. I had a good game, similar to the Carolina deal. I had a really good game against Magnitogorsk, and they had an import spot open. Mike Keenan is coaching over there. He liked a little sandpaper, and so I get a call, and what you'll appreciate this, Rosie, because it's so backwards. I get a call and it's like, "Hey, we want to trade for you. You need to go in and tell the coach you're done and you're leaving." I'm like, "What?" I'm paying an agent to, like, what's he gonna? No, this is the way it works here. So I literally had to walk in to Peter Scudra's office and say, "Scuds, I'm out. Here's a list of guys you can pick to trade me for."
Jeez,
yeah,
is that weird or
really
what?
packed my stuff up and was gone. But obviously, got to play for Mike Keenan, which was awesome. Like my second game over there, I ran a kid over behind the net, and I turn around and one of their D-man's coming at me. So I, drop my shit and we fight. And I realize after I've hit him half a dozen times that he didn't even drop his gloves. He was just like coming over to like hug me or something.
Keenan just has a rager going, hey, for you, I'm sure.
So I get 2 game suspension. And I remember thinking, gosh, I'm going to get, like, Keenan's going to blast me, and he came in and was just, "We'll pay for everyone," like, "We'll pay for every one of those." Like, just loved it. So we won that year. Incredible experience to win a championship anywhere, but over there was pretty wild. I think the entire town showed up at the rink the night we won, and it was really cool.
Awesome.
We actually had Mike Keenan on the podcast a couple months ago to talk about his new book, but nevertheless, just a final thought here. I don't know how much Leafs you're watching these days, but Craig Berube's got this team playing some inspired hockey, very Tim Brent hockey, which is great to see. What's your take on the Maple Leafs this season?
The record obviously speaks for itself, but to your point, I think, there's just it seems like there's a kind of a renewed passion for the game. They're playing hard. They've got some young blood, obviously, which obviously helps. But I love the way they're playing. I think it lends itself better as well, coming down the stretch and into playoffs, which is really what anybody who's a Leaf fan cares about these days. It's not, it's not just making it to playoffs anymore. It's, it's expected to be in playoffs, and now it's pushing to go deep, and hopefully one of these days celebrate.
Fingers crossed, Timmy. Thank you so much for your time. It was great to see this reunion unfold here on Leafs Morning Take. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Timmy. Good to see you. Say hi to everyone for me.
Good to see you guys.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.